Hi, I'm Maya from Bookworm Dreams and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about my TBR for Reddit's Fantasy Bingo Challenge. On the Fantasy subreddit, every April starts a new reading challenge. So you have 25 prompts which you are supposed to fill with speculative fiction books. Now, there are some rules to these prompts. You can only use one book for prompt. You can't repeat authors, so 25 prompts, 25 different authors, unless one of the prompts is like a anthology or short stories, then I think you can do that, I think. And you can only use one prompt for a reread. So the goal of this challenge is to diversify your reading and to figure out and find out new subgenres of science fiction, fantasy, or horror. So so you can discover new books in the fantasy, science fiction, and horror genre. So this year I decided to add an extra challenge to this. So basically there are 25 prompts, but I do have 47 books on my TBR because I'm crazy, that's why. So how did I pick books for this challenge? Of course this TBR is probably going to change. There might be some books that I won't be able to get in time, or I decide I didn't want to read that book and pick something else or whatnot. So this is, subject to change. So first I looked at my physical TBR. I do have a whole bookshelf of books that I haven't read. So first I went to that bookshelf and I picked what I can find. Second, I went to my Goodreads want to read shelf because I have over 400 books there and I wanted to, lower that number somewhat. And the thirdly, this is why I have 47 books and not 25, is that for each challenge that I would find another book which was written by a BIPOC author because I recognize that I only read basically, white guys in fantasy, and I wanted to diversify and find, things that I wouldn't normally pick up. And I made, a conscious decision to, search out and find books that would fit for each of the prompts. As I talk about my TBR, for each prompt I will show you 2 books. I won't tell you what the books are about because we will be here forever. I will give you a sentence or 2 for each book and then move on. I will leave the link to my Goodreads profile down below, and I created a bookshelf or tag for all the books I plan to read for this challenge. So if some of the books sound interesting to you, you can get to them through that link, or you can just go on Goodreads or Google and find out what books are about. So let's start with the prompts. The first prompt is title within a title, and for that I picked The Last Astronaut by David Wellington, right? So this is a sci-fi horror thriller thingy with aliens. So we follow this woman. She was an astronaut in a failed mission, and she then retired, and after a while a mysterious artifact appeared in the solar system, and she's tasked to go and find out what the fuck was happening. For the second book for this prompt, I picked The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco. This is a YA fantasy in which the main character figures out that they are a bone witch. I think that also means necromancer, and that is really, really bad. And then stuff happens from there. The second prompt is superheroes, and for that I picked Arch Nemesis by Stephanie Meyer. This is book 2 in this series. I don't know the name. So basically in the first book we follow a young woman. This is a YA, so I don't know, she's 18 or something. So she basically somehow trains or whatever, wants to be part of the superhero group that goes around and saves people. And we figure out quite early on that she's actually somehow connected to the nemesis that they are sort of fighting. And throughout the first book stuff happens. And this is going to be the sequel. I'm still debating whether or not I have to reread the first book so I can continue with this one, but hopefully not. I know in this one, I think Nova is the main character. Her life's about to be more complicated because she's now part of the superhero group, and she's basically fighting her family, if I'm not mistaken. And then stuff will happen because she also is not really the goodest of all the superheroes. For the other book for this prompt, I picked When Gracie Met the Grump by Mariana Zapata. For basically, there's a girl who finds a half-conscious, half-naked superhero in her backyard, and then stuff happens from there. I'm guessing this is a romance. The third prompt is bottom of your TBR. For that, I went to my Goodreads want to read shelf, and I went through all the books that I put there first. And the first book that survived a lot of editing and deleting of books is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, which I haven't read yet, and so I'm going to read that for this prompt. This is epic fantasy about two sisters, one who was supposed to go to this kingdom to marry this dude, but her father sent her sister, who has no idea what's happening. So I guess the clueless sister goes there, and then the first sister tries to help. I have no idea. It's Brandon Sanderson. I think it's going to be interesting. And the second one is a book that I also have on my 2000 to 2023 reading challenge, and that is Half Resurrection Blues by Daniel Jose Older. And this is an urban fantasy in which we follow an agent who works for the New York Council of the Dead, I think. I think he's like between life and death, and because of that he has some powers to help him do stuff, and something happens and then he'll have to do stuff. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to it because urban fantasy is always fun. Then the fourth prompt, which gave me a lot of trouble and which I'm not really looking forward to because this is something I do not enjoy reading, and that is magical realism. But I did find a T. Kingfisher book for that, and that is The Hollow Places. This is a horror in which a woman finds a portal in her uncle's house or something, and then things happen. The other book for this prompt that I pick is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. This is fantasy, gothic, horror, and gothic is not something that I enjoy reading, so this will be interesting. I think we follow a woman who I think magically appeared and got married, and the only thing she asks from her husband is not to look into her past, and then he does, and then stuff starts happening, I guess. The next prompt is a young adult, and for that I picked, I think this is book 4 in the Spellslinger series by Sebastian de Castell. This is Soulbinder. So Kellen, this dude here, I think, basically doesn't have magic. Actually has a tiny bit of magic, which doesn't really help him a lot in this world where he's supposed to have magic and, you know, be an important part of his tribe. In the first book, he's supposed to go through this like magical trial, and he meets, forgot the girl's name, a woman who basically survives this world without magic, and she teaches him tricks, how to do stuff. And this is book 4 in this whole series. For the other book for this prompt, I picked The Iron Widow by Jiran J. Chao. This is a fantasy. I know we follow a girl who wants to, she's avenging some family member, brother or sister, and she does so by participating in their like military. They have like these ginormous robots that you need 2 pilots for, and usually, you know, girls are supposed to sacrifice themselves for the pilot to survive because there's like a psychic connection, but she kills the pilot and becomes known as the Iron Widow, and then stuff happens from then. Then the 6th prompt is Mundane Jobs, and for that I picked book 3 in the Fetch Phillips archive. This is One Foot in the Fade by Luke Arnold. The mundane job our main character has is that he's a private detective. One might consider being a private detective not a mundane job, but what are you gonna do? In this book series we follow Fetch Phillips, who is responsible for the disappearance of magic in this world, which affects all the magical creatures in it. And throughout the books, this is book 3 in this series, he's trying to help all the magical creatures. It's an urban fantasy, but more fantasy than urban. Crazy story, which I love, and has awesome covers. And the other book for this prompt that I picked is Mind Touch by M.C.A. Hogarth. I think this author is Cuban. Basically, this is a science fiction about an alien university. There's a school setting, and one alien befriends another alien, and as they go and do ecology stuff, I think. The 7th prompt is published in the aughts, and that is the 2000 to 2010. So for that, I picked Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. That might actually make me read this book. This is book 4 in the First Law trilogy. I read the trilogy last year and haven't continued, but I want to. This is, I believe, a standalone, in which we follow a bunch of people in a really, really grim, dark universe, and they do stuff. I can't tell you more because it's book 4, so just Google it if you haven't already. Then the other book for this prompt that I picked is Dark Matter, Reading the Bones. This is edited by Shiri R. Thomas. This was published in 2004, and this is a collection of science fiction, fantasy, horror, short stories written by Black authors. Prompt 8 is Angels and Demons, and for that I picked Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. In this story we follow an angel who has gambling debts, and to pay them off she has to persuade someone to do good things for themselves. So I'm not sure if it's like, are they persuading them to be good or persuading them to be bad. So we'll see when I read it. It's a queer fantasy romance. And the other book for this prompt that I picked is The Midnight Bargain by C.L. Polk. I read their novella recently, so I just thought, well, let's continue with the author. I liked the novella because it also had angels and demons. Oh my god! Anyway, so in The Midnight Bargain, we follow a sorceress who wants to become a magus. Is that how you say that? Well, basically, she when she gets married, like, she's supposed to abandon all her scholarly pursuits. So she finds a grimoire. It is a book with magic, and she summons a demon. And the two of them, I guess, do stuff. It's also fantasy romance. So yeah. Prompt number 9 is 5 stories, and for that I picked this book that I got a couple of years ago, and this is Wasteland, the New Apocalypse. This is a collection of short stories about zombies and stuff and post-apocalyptic worlds, which is edited by John Joseph Adams, and it has Veronica Roth, Richard Kadri, Jonathan Mayberry, something I cannot pronounce, Sean McGuire, Carmen Maria Machado, Hugh Howey, Ken Liu, and many others. So I'm doing that. The other thing that I picked for this is not a book by a BIPOC author, but it's something that I haven't done yet so far. So I'm going to read stories from an online magazine. So there is a creation one, at least there is a one that was created and is edited by Croatian authors, and it's called Morena Kutija. I will leave the link to that down below because they do have a lot of stories in English. They are stories of speculative fiction, so I will just pick an issue and then read the whole issue and read all the stories and stuff that they have in there. Prompt number 10 is horror, and for that I picked Stephen King's Bazaar of Bad Dreams. This is a collection of Stephen King short stories. I have them all marked here. Bought this bunch of years ago, and it usually comes with me to my seaside vacation, and hopefully it will be read this year. And the next book I have for this prompt is Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. This is actually a novella, and in this novella we follow a group of, how do we call them? Are they hunters? They hunt the Ku Klux Klan members who are demons. So I'm not sure if every Ku Klux Klan member in this story is a demon, or in like some of them turn into demons or whatnot. But in this novella we sort of follow a group of people who hunt them and kill them, I guess. Then the 11th prompt is a book that is self-published or indie published, and for that I picked The Grey Bastards. Oh my god, this book has been on various TBRs and it hasn't been read yet. So this is a book by Jonathan French that has won the self-published fantasy blog off in 2016, in which we follow this dude who is like a half an orc. Is it an orc? Yeah, he's a half orc, and basically he can't fit with humans or with orcs, so he is a mercenary, I believe. I don't know. And they do stuff, go around doing stuff. There are a bunch of more books in this series, and I'm looking forward to getting to it, finally. And the next book that I have for this prompt is That Time I Drugged a Dragon by Kimberly Lemming. This is book 3, I believe, in her Mead Mishaps series. These books are fantasy romances with smut and crazy adventures, and I'm so looking forward to it. I enjoyed all the books that I read in this series, and I'm looking forward to this one. Prompt 12 is Mideastern SFF, and for that I'm going to read The Adventures of Amina El Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This is a historical fantasy with pirates. Yeah. And the other book that I have for this prompt is going to be The Unbroken by C.L. Clark, in which this is a fantasy with queer characters. I do believe we follow a soldier who is now, who was taken from her home and now is going back to her home to quell a rebellion. So we'll see. Prompt number 13, published in 2023, and for that I'm going to read The Witch King by Martha Wells, in which we follow a dude who somehow tried to harness the power of a demon or something. I don't know, we'll see. And the next book I'm going to pick for this prompt is a book by Ness Brown, The Scourge Between Stars. Is that how you say that word? Basically, a generational ship is either falling apart or whatnot, and they have encountered something mysterious that is, let's say, an alien creature that's going around and killing people. That's what I have gathered from the summary. I might be wrong, but when I read it, I'll tell you if I was wrong or not. Prompt 14 is Multiverse or Alternate Realities, and for that I picked The Masked City by Genevieve Cogman. This is book 2 in the Invisible Library series, in which we follow a character who can hop through alternate worlds to fix stuff that's been broken. It's kind of similar to the Thursday Next series, but they don't really hop into literary worlds. They hop through, our worlds, and fix stuff that has been broken. And the second book I picked for this is Duckett and Dyer, Dicks for Hire by G.M. Nair. In this title, Dicks means private detectives, for you who have smutty minds. So basically in this story we follow two roommates who are really down on their luck, and they're opposite personalities, and they seem to be finding like leaflets for this detective, for their own detective agency that they don't have, and they get jobs and they don't do the jobs, and there are a bunch of books in the series. It's a self-published author, I believe, so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to it. The 15th prompt is a POC author, and for that I'm going to read Rosewater by Tate Thompson. This is also on my 2000 to 2000, no it's not, it's on my Buzzword Reading Challenge TBR for the prompt of like herbs and spices and whatnot. So yeah, I'm reading Rosewater. Prompt 16 is to read a book club book or a read-along book, and for that I'm going to read Orconomics by J. Zachary Pike. This book is actually something that the subreddit is reading right now in April, but I'm not going to read right now. What I know about this is I have no idea. It didn't stick, so yeah, here's the cover. It looks really cool and I'm looking forward to reading it. And the other book that I'm going to read for this prompt is After the Dragons by Cynthia Zhang, and this is a fantasy novella with dragons in it. That's all I know. Then prompt 17 is novella, and for that I already read Ogres by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is something I read actually on the 1st of April for something else, but when I saw that this was one of the prompts, I was like, yes, I have one, so good for me. In Ogres, we follow society in which ogres are like the masters and the humans are like the peasants and such, and one of the peasants hurts one of the orcs, and this sort of sets forth a chain of events that leads to the realization of what the ogres are and what happened to the world. It was really, really good. I liked it a lot. And the second book I'm going to read for this prompt is And What Can We Offer You Tonight by Primi Mohammed. This book actually won an award, which escapes me right now. I have no idea what it's about, because when it comes to novellas, I like to know as little as possible. Prompt 18 is Mythical Beasts, and for that I am reading An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. Since this is a book by a BIPOC author, I'm not going to pick another one for this prompt. What do I know about this book? It is YA fantasy. It kind of looks YA fantasy-ish. I don't know. We'll see. So it says here, Layla is a slave, Elias is a soldier, neither is free. So yeah, we'll see when I read it. Then prompt 19, Elemental Magic. And for that I picked Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Brodent, right? So this is a fantasy romance. I believe people have been saying that this is like similar, or has like that sort of epic feel or whatnot, or maybe the romantic feel of Sarah J. Maas's ACOTAR series, which I really, really like. One of the characters is a former slave, the other one is a reclusive warrior, and I guess together they're going to do stuff, I don't know. The second book I picked for this prompt is The Daughters of Izdihar, I believe, by Hadir Elsbai. What I gathered, this is a book in which two women fight for the rights of women using elemental magic. Prompt 20 is Myths and Retelling, and for that I'm going to read Mythos, the Greek myths retold by Stephen Fry. This is a book that we have picked for the book club that Christina, my sister, and another friend are a part of, so I'm going to read that for that. And the other book that I picked for this is Legendborn by Tracy Dion, and what I gathered from the summary, that this is sort of connected to the King Arthur myth, so we'll see when I read it. The 21st prompt is queer norm, which means that the book has to take place in a queer normative world. For that, I'm going to pick another book that's on my 2000 to 2023 reading challenge, and that is Kushiel's Dart, right, by Jacqueline Carey. What I know about this, oh my god, the most enormous bug is just walking across my floor. That's so not cool. Okay, what I know about this book is that there's lots of smut in it, and that's pretty much it. And the other book that I'm gonna read for this prompt is The Final Strife by Sarah El Arifi. I'm looking at the bug now. It's gone. That's not cool. Oh my god, so fucking gross. Alright, so in the final strife, I do believe we follow 3 different women as they're trying to fight the Empire, which divides people according to their blood or something? I don't know, we'll see. Prompt number 22 is coastal or island setting. For that, I'm going to read Jade City. Finally, this is the same situation as in the Grey Bastard series. It's been on a couple of TBRs but hasn't been read yet. Jade City by Fonda Lee. It's like a mafia, fantasy mafia thing with Jade being like the element everyone's fighting over. And since this is written by a BIPOC author, I'm not gonna pick another book for this prompt. The 23rd prompt is Druids, and for that I picked Jasmine Throne. Oh my god, I have it, hold on. Alright, Jasmine Throne by Tasha Shuri. This is part of my Aurelium TBR. Apparently it has a druid-like character. And the other book that I picked for this prompt is Dreamer's Pool by Juliet Marillier? I might have mispronounced that, I'm sorry. So basically in this book we follow a magical healer who has escaped from being falsely imprisoned and has decided, with the help of her prison mate Grim, and she has sort of sworn not to like go seek revenge immediately, so she has to spend 7 years near some forest helping people. So I guess she'll be doing that. Prompt 24 is a book featuring robots, and for that I am reading book 2 in whatever that series is called, Themis File series by Sylvain Novelle, The Waking Gods. In this series we follow, I keep checking for the bug, I'm sorry. In this series we follow a group of people who have discovered a giant robotic hand and figured out that their aliens have visited their planet and left these giant robots. And why have they left them there? And, you know, what is going to happen. It's all sort of written in epistolary form, so you get like reports, transcripts from interviews and whatnot, so it's really cool. And the second book I'm going to read for this is Machinehood by S.B. Divya. This is a sci-fi thriller with artificial intelligence and robots. Basically, if I remember correctly from the summary, Machinehood is the name of the terrorists who are trying to prevent people from, they have like this pill thing that they take every day because, you know, it helps with everything, and they want to prevent people from doing that, and they do that by hacking the robots and whatnot, and then, you know, people are being kind of against robots and whatnot. We'll see what happens. And the last prompt is sequel. So I'm going to continue on with Rob J. Hayes' series that started with oh my god, what's the name of the first book about the girlie who is in the prison? Anyway, the sequel is called The Lessons Never Learned. So in the first book we follow a young girl. She's 15. She has been placed in prison because she was part of the losing side of a war. And in book 1 we sort of follow her as she tries to escape and does stuff. It's very grim dark. It's very dark, but it's also really good because we follow her from the perspective of herself when she's older. So we know that she escapes and does stuff because she sort of teases like her future adventures and whatnot. But we also see the character through, you know, an older perspective, so she's very conscious of all the stupid decisions that she has made, and that makes it interesting. So I'm going to read the sequel to that, and the other sequel I'm going to read is The Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan. I read the first one, name escapes me of course, this year, and it was alright. The beginning was a bit clunky because it took me a while to get used to the writing, but then as it moved on, it was okay. So I am going to read the sequel to that. And those are all the books that I'm going to read for this challenge. This is going to be insane. So this challenge lasts from the 1st of April of this year and lasts to the 31st of March of next year. So I do have a year to read these 47 books. So I think it should be doable because I do read a lot. And I have read a lot of books last year, so we'll see if I can get through this challenge. Yeah, if you are going to participate in this challenge, or if you have books that would fit some of the prompts and you want to share with me, please do so down below in the comments. Wish me luck, I guess. There are some links in the description box for you to check out, so please do so. And that's it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, press the like button if you like this video, and thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!